about going back too far, but when you have a performance like that in two halves, how much do you spend on a review? A bit longer than usual, and you play so well and then probably don't produce in the second half?
Oh, yeah, there's a bit to take out of it. As we said straight after the game, it felt like a loss. And we could have easily held on and showed a lot of grit sort of in that last quarter to be able to go from looking like being run over to push out to another 3-goal lead. It was really clear for us that we got the game on our terms for specific reasons. Our ball use was really composed, didn't leave the ball in dangerous turnover positions, and then Adelaide really pushed back hard on turnover and went even harder than they may normally go to sort of run back through us, and we weren't able to handle that. So our ball use sort of went out the window a little bit. They were the main themes, and clearly we still need to be able to defend that when it comes. So there was a lot to like about the game, and then there was clearly a bit of improvement area for us, and some of it is just being able to understand game situations and make the right decisions, and we get a chance to practice that again on Saturday.
Has it taken a sting out of your season, that losing those 2 points that you left on the table on the week?
The wins and losses are definitely important, and we want to win every game we play, but I think it was probably more about how we handled the game early, and that was really predictable and disciplined around our plan. And then how we were unable to handle the game, basically after 5 minutes into the third quarter, for probably about 25-30 minutes. We got it back, arrested some control, and executed what we wanted to do a little more in the last quarter. But we put ourselves out of the game and brought the opposition back into it for a period, and so we're sort of looking at that. But no, giving up 2 points, we clearly would have preferred the win, but there was a lot to look at on both sides for us, good and bad.
Daniel Wells ran it into some great form last week, comes against his old side, so can you get a bit of momentum going into next season now?
There's 6 months in between, obviously, but Wells' form recently has been, it whets the appetite, there's no doubt. It shows us what he's still capable of. A 6-day break for him, trained lightly today, but he's been first class. He'd be very excited about his return bout against the old club, and I think any player that moves clubs goes through this one. It's a bit of an external focus as much as anything, but he's got a lot of mates that he's going to be playing against for the first time, so there's going to be an emotional challenge for him, but he's looking forward to it.
North's pretty young at the minute. Do you take that opportunity to maybe blood a couple of your own youngsters in this type of game?
We don't look at the opposition as such to decide what we feel like we need to do. We play our players when they're ready, when it's right for their development, and when they've earned it in many ways. We won't shift our policies too far away from that. If you play a young player before he's ready, you can do more harm than good. So, we'll keep looking for those opportunities. We want to keep exposing our youth. I think we've played 35 or 36 players for the year, not dissimilar to North, to be honest. So, we'll maintain integrity in selection, and there's been quite a few boys in the VFL that have played pretty well.
Josh Dacos obviously pulled up a bit better than expected from his injury in the VFL. Does he get a chance this week? Or?
He'll be in consideration,
No, just back on Daniel Wells, Gary Lyon was pretty critical of him early in the week. I know you've addressed that previously, but do you sort of expect now that he's come back and played pretty well that the following pre-season we might see that from Daniel earlier?
Yeah, I made my comments after the game, and he's been great for us, and we're looking forward to seeing what he can produce in the next couple of years.
Is there a closer watch on him in the off-season this time to make sure he does return in?
Oh, look, he's an experienced player, and he knows what it's going to take for him to get to his best. And the AFLPA and the CBA has the clubs at arm's length for a lot of it. So, funnily enough, it comes back down to the individual and how prepared they want to be for pre-season, or how much they view that as a as a decent break away from training or from the game. But we managed that with all our players, and pretty keen for him to come back in good nick.
Just on Josh Dacos, is it more of a set-up factor up forward to the right mix for him to come in, or is it more maybe giving him more time in the VFL? I mean, is he ready to make his debut if he is named?
No, all of those things will go into it. Callum Brown, James Aish, Tim Broomhead have played pretty well, to name 4. So there's a little bit of material for you.
Finals are obviously off the agenda, but what can you get out of these last 4 rounds?
Oh, we just want to play our brand of footy as well as we possibly can. We've seen great energy from the players, and when you get to the tail end of a season that's going to end before you want it to end, I think you understand how fortunate you are to be playing and to have the opportunity to go out on a Etihad or on the G, or next week when we go to Adelaide Oval. The games of AFL footy. You don't take them for granted. So we want to play with energy. We want to play with great spirit, and continue to work on getting those elements of predictability right to play a game style across the 22 that play. So more of the first half and less of the second half, basically.
Does anything help though in these last 4 rounds going ahead, say to next year or the year after?
There's no doubt that you're projecting. There's always a balance between winning this game and projecting forward and improving and adding to and learning your game style or learning what the game's asking of you. And we've still got a lot of players that are still discovering what their best is and where it fits in our plan and in this team. So these are 4 weeks an opportunity to keep reinforcing that and keep building on that. And the reality is that it's never you're never a finished product. So every week's an opportunity to learn something more about yourself and the group, to be able to head towards where everyone's trying to head towards, and that's to be a premiership team.
It's partly also some of the younger players figuring out what their best position is. Do you sort of spin the magnets a little bit in the last few weeks?
We've looked at players in different roles. I think Jack Crisp started as a midfielder, went in the wing for a little bit, and is now half back. Clearly Howie over the last couple of years has gone from forward to back. But at the same time, so Ben Reid, who's started back and is now forward, there's probably an opportunity to see Reedy and Darcy continue to play some football together in front of the ball. So that hasn't been something consistent. I think Darcy, Ben, Reid, Jamie, Elliott and Alex Fasolo have only played 2 or 3 games together for the whole season. So, to hopefully get a good 3 or 4 week block, potentially, gives us a bit of a look at what our forward line might look like going forward. So you're trying to, as much as you want to spin the wheels and spin the magnets and have a look at other stuff, you also there's some things that we've got that are actually newer than people would expect. So we want that to settle and see how effective it might be with an eye to the future.
You've been bullied around the ball a couple of times this year. I think Port Adelaide was probably one game. That's a strength of North, potentially, that contested ball. Is that a focus this week?
Yeah, no, it hasn't happened that often. Port Adelaide was clear. Plus 50 last week was a really good sign for us in contested ball, and not all of that was clearance, but North are definitely a very strong contested ball side. Cunnington, Zeeble, Swallow, Dumont, and Higgins sort of going through there. We expect Goldstein potentially to come into that mix with Majak Dor. So, there's some big boys, and that's an important part of the game. The grunt inside is definitely something that the better sides do really well. But as we've consistently said, we're as focused on the shape element as well and getting that balance of offence and defence right. The game starts in a contest, and any transition happens through a contest. So, you've got to get those elements right.
You've been linked again to Mitch McGowan and Jack Lever in the past week particularly. Would either of those guys look pretty good in a Collingwood jumper? I know you're not going to give away trade secrets, but is key position a focus for list management?
Yeah, I think clearly it is, both in front of the ball and behind it. And we're looking for some speed as well. So, they're, as I said, they're decisions that happen sort of at the end of the year, and they're the life cycle of that happens, behind the curtain, sort of when we're in season. I do feel it's disrespectful to be talking about players from other clubs during the year, and We probably learned a little bit from the Lin Jong situation last year. It's not good for the player themselves, the clubs that are involved, to get caught in that. So we'll let that happen behind the cloak.
Just without talking about specific players, obviously a key forward is something that you're pretty desperate for.
Yeah, and I suppose it depends how. We're talking about Reedy, sort of how he goes in the next month and how he stands up. He's looked really good the last couple of weeks since coming back. Looks like he's got a bit more spring in the step and closing down. He laid 5 forward 50 tackles on the weekend, and if he continues, he had 6 touches, but I think it was a really kicked a couple of goals, really influential game as a key forward. I mean, you'd love 20 touches and 6 goals every week, but all we expect is for guys to play role, and Reedy's influence was profound. So we get a look at that, and a lot of what happens in the next month probably dictates a little bit of the last 5% of decisions that you need to make on your list going into the next phase of the club's future, 3 to 5 year period.
Bit of speculation, I'm sure you're going to enjoy this question, Nathan, but a bit of speculation about Mick Malthouse possibly coming back in a director of coaching role. I mean, would that be something that you'd feel comfortable with if that was the choice moving forward?
So give me the timeline on that. I hadn't got to that. So what's the timeline on that one?
Just potentially in the future.
On the story. When did that start?
Oh, okay. It's only a few hours old, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So has it come full circle yet? Have you got a comment from Mick and
we've got Eddie. We've got one piece of the puzzle.
Good job.
But I mean, do you feel comfortable commenting at all? Or?
It's always good when you deal in the realm of fiction, isn't it? There's so many more possibilities than dealing with fact. Yeah.
Has enough water gone under the bridge? I mean, footy's quite a forgiving industry.
Yep.
And he's a premiership coach at this club. There's enough water gone under the bridge that maybe one day there is a chance?
Look, there will be decisions made above where I'm at, and I've still got to prove I'm not here next year yet, so we've got to get that right first.
Thanks, Nathan. Appreciate it, mate.
Thanks, guys.